A traffic stop turns hostile until the cop realizes he just handcuffed the most dangerous man in the U.S. military. David R. Cole had driven this Georgia highway 100 times. His black Chevy Tahoe rolled under the speed limit, Army plates clean and visible. He wore a plain windbreaker, nothing flashy, just a man visiting his mother's grave. The blue lights hit fast. He pulled over, hands on the wheel, window down. "Afternoon, officer," he said calmly. The deputy stepped out. White, buzz cut, early 30s. Nameplate, B. Marshall. "License," the cop snapped. "Of course," David replied, keeping hands in sight. "Reaching for my—" "Don't get smart. Just hand it over." David froze. "Sir, I'm complying." "You been drinking?" "Drifting a bit. Military plates. Makes me curious." "I haven't—" "Out of the vehicle. Now." David blinked. "On what basis?" "Suspicion of impersonating a federal officer. Step out before I escalate." The woods went silent. David exited slowly. The moment he did, the cop slammed him onto the hood. "You resisting?" "No." "You raising your voice?" "No." "Trying to be clever, huh?" "I'm a U.S. citizen, that's all." Click. Cold cuffs tightened behind him. Across the road, a teenager holding a skateboard filmed everything on his phone. David stayed still, silent. He'd seen worse, but the rage simmered. At the station, Officer Blake Marshall shoved him inside. "You're under arrest for obstruction and impersonation," he said. "You'll be out soon, General." "I never claimed a rank," David said calmly. "I gave you my military ID. You handed me a fake badge with a chip and a barcode. Probably got it online." Blake tossed the ID on the desk like garbage. "I want to contact my legal liaison." "You can call Santa Claus in 20. Sit down." Blake leaned back, cracking sunflower seeds. "You types always drive nice, act superior, think respect's automatic. You don't know me. I know enough. Guys like you think rules don't apply." David looked him in the eye. "You ever serve?" Blake scoffed. "Don't need to. I keep this town safe." David tilted his head. "By assaulting veterans?" Blake stood up. "You testing me now?" Just then, a younger black officer entered, clearly nervous. "Sir," he said to Blake, voice low. "This ID, it looks legit." Blake waved him off. "He's bluffing. Take him to holding." The younger cop hesitated, then turned to David. Quietly, "We'll fix this, sir." Outside, the teen uploaded the video. Title: "Black man with Army ID cuffed. No reason." Hours later, it had 50,000 views. One view came from a military base in North Carolina. In the holding cell, David sat upright, breathing steady. Blake bragged nearby. "Guy acts like he's James Bond. Gave me attitude like I work for him." "Did you even run his info?" another officer asked. "No need. I know a faker when I see one." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Carla Jennings rewound the arrest footage again. She frowned. "Where's the threat?" She entered the ID number into the federal system. One result. Her eyes widened. She picked up the phone. "Chief, you need to come down here. We have a serious problem." The chief burst through the precinct door, coat half-buttoned, phone in hand. "Where is he?" Lieutenant Carla Jennings stood. "Holding. Sir, I confirmed it 3 times. That man is Major General David R. Cole, Joint Special Operations Command. Active duty." The chief stared. "Blake's got him cuffed in a cell?" She nodded. "And the video's viral. I'd advise immediate release, with a formal apology." The chief muttered something under his breath and stormed down the hallway. In holding, David sat calm, eyes closed, as if meditating. His hands were still cuffed behind him. "General Cole," the chief said, opening the door, "we deeply regret this situation. You are free to go, sir." Blake Marshall leaned against the wall, arms crossed, smirking. Funny how fast respect shows up once a title does. David stood slowly, rolling his shoulders. "I'm not free," he said. "I was profiled, thrown to the ground, and mocked. That doesn't go away just because you opened a door." Blake tossed the keys. "You're welcome, General." David caught them, set them on the table. "Respect isn't given. It's earned, and you've done nothing to earn it." He walked out without another word. Outside, He retrieved his phone and tapped a single button. Satellite uplink engaged. Back inside the precinct, Blake turned to Carla. "What's he gonna do? File a complaint?" Carla didn't answer. She was reading a fresh email on her screen. Sender: U.S. Army CID, Counter-Investigations Division. Subject: Urgent Interagency Notice. Confirmed mistreatment of active general officer. She turned pale. 3 hours later, 2 black SUVs pulled up outside the precinct. Government plates. 2 men in dark suits entered without knocking. One flashed a badge. "Agent McAdams, Department of Defense Internal Affairs. We're here for a personnel inquiry." The other added, "We've seen the footage. We've reviewed the report. We'll need your full internal files and access to Officer Marshall." Blake stiffened. "Excuse me?" "You'll also surrender your firearm and badge. Effective immediately, you're placed on administrative leave pending investigation." Blake turned to the chief. "You can't be serious." The chief looked away. "You brought this on yourself." The agents escorted Blake to a private room. Carla followed. The silence in the hallway felt like a funeral. That evening, the video reached 1 million views. News networks picked it up. Army general wrongfully arrested by local cop, racism alleged. Decorated war hero detained at gunpoint in Georgia, Twitter lit up. Soldiers from past deployments chimed in. "I served under General Cole in Kandahar. He's the real deal. That cop just arrested a living legend." Meanwhile, David sat in a modest hotel room outside town. No press, no lawyers, just him and a laptop. He opened a secure chat room. 3 names joined instantly: former officers, advisors, legal minds. "We're mobilizing support," one said. "Already in touch with the Congressional Oversight Committee," another added. "Veterans groups want you to speak out," said a third. "They want a voice. You can be that voice." David didn't answer right away. He stared at the viral video again, paused on the moment Blake threw him onto the hood. He remembered other moments like that, in cities far from war zones. He leaned forward. "Then we'll do it right. No rage, just truth. Every step documented." Next morning, the mayor called an emergency press conference. Behind closed doors, city lawyers begged David to sign a non-disclosure agreement. They offered a public apology, a sizable settlement. He declined both. "This isn't about me," he said. "It's about who's next." That afternoon, he walked into the local high school gym, invited by the principal, a black woman in her 60s with eyes that had seen too much. "You don't know what it means to these kids," she whispered. "They've been waiting for someone who looks like them. To speak." David nodded, stepped onto the stage. He didn't wear medals, didn't read from paper. He just told the story. From his teenage years in Alabama, to earning his Ranger tab, to leading special ops units across 3 continents. Then he paused. "And after all that," he said, "I still get treated like a threat when I drive through certain towns." The room was silent. Some kids wiped tears. Teachers stared down at the floor. "I didn't speak today as a general," he said. "I spoke as a father, a neighbor, a man who wants something better for all of us." Afterward, the line to shake his hand wrapped around the gym twice. What would you say to him if you had 1 minute face-to-face? Drop it in the comments. Back at the station, Blake's personnel file landed on the desk of the DoD inquiry team. It didn't look good. 6 prior complaints, all from black or Latino men. 3 informal reprimands for aggressive roadside behavior. 2 internal memos flagged attitude concerns. And buried deep, 1 warning from a former field trainer. Tendency toward escalation. Shows disregard for protocol when dealing with minority drivers. That night, Carla closed the folder. "This isn't just about 1 bad stop," she said quietly. "This is a pattern." The gymnasium speech changed everything. Clips of David's quiet, commanding voice made their way into news cycles, classrooms, and city halls. Not yelling, not demanding, just truth, clear, lived, and undeniable. The town of Langford, Georgia, wasn't known for protests, but the day after the speech, a town hall was called. Attendants spilled past the doors, folding chairs ran out. People stood in corners, sat on floors, and leaned against the walls. At the front, David. To his left, the mayor. To his right, the school principal, 2 city council members, and a civil rights attorney flown in from Atlanta. And in the front row, not seated but standing, sat several veterans in uniform, white, black, brown, arms crossed, watching. The moderator began. Before we open the floor, we'll play a short clip. Some of you may have seen this already. They queued up the arrest video. The room fell quiet. The silence after the footage ended was thicker than any outrage. Then a hand went up, a woman in her 50s. "That could have been my brother," she said. "He came home from Iraq and still gets pulled over 3 times a year." A man stood. "I've lived here my whole life. Seen that cop pull over young black men for no reason. Never said anything. I regret that." The mayor cleared his throat. "We failed to recognize a culture of bias within our department. We're not here to defend it. We're here to dismantle it." David finally spoke. "I'm not here to burn bridges," he said, "but I won't build them over silence." The audience erupted into applause. After the meeting, an emergency session of the City Police Board convened. Officer Blake Marshall was formally suspended without pay. The board approved a third-party review of all use-of-force reports from the past 3 years. At the state level, the Georgia Public Safety Commission initiated a review of Langford's policing patterns. David kept his distance from the press. He wasn't interested in camera crews. But what he did do, quietly, deliberately, was start taking calls. Governors, senators, Defense Department liaisons. And he always said the same thing. This isn't a political issue. It's a national standard issue. If one officer can ignore the rules and still wear the badge, then the system failed him, and everyone he meets. Meanwhile, back in Langford, 2 junior officers came forward with complaints of their own. They'd witnessed Blake Marshall make off-the-books stops, no body cam, no radio log. One recalled Blake bragging, "Sometimes you just gotta shake the tree and see what falls out." The mayor issued a formal statement. "We cannot allow culture to become cover. Anyone who violates the oath of public service will answer for it." 3 weeks later, Officer Marshall was arrested and charged with falsifying arrest records and civil rights violations under color of law. He was released on bond, but stripped of his certification. His trial would come later. But the real verdict had already been rendered in the court of public trust. Langford wasn't the same. A new policy suspended stop-and-frisk procedures pending retraining. Body cams became mandatory. A civilian oversight board was created, with actual teeth. And one morning, without fanfare, David returned. Not in uniform, not in SUV. He wore running shoes and a black T-shirt that read, "Know Your Neighbor." A local veterans group had organized a community run to honor service members, especially those who never got the benefit of the doubt. David led the run, not as a general, not even as the man from the video, but as a neighbor, a citizen, a reminder. As he crossed the finish line, a boy ran up with a notebook. "Mr. Cole, sir," he said breathlessly, "can you sign?" David knelt. "Only if you promise to use this pen one day to write your own story." Behind them, a banner read, "Honor is action, not just a uniform." What would you have said to that boy? Tell me below. Months passed. The heat of the story faded. The headlines moved on, but the impact didn't. The Georgia State Police Academy adopted new curriculum co-authored by military consultants, including David Cole. Focus, de-escalation, bias response, integrity under pressure. And in a closed-door meeting at the state capitol, a senator turned to David and asked, "Why didn't you sue them blind? You had every right." David answered quietly, "Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about change, and now it's happening." The room went still.